Welcome back, guys, or if you're new here, this is Automotive Anonymous, and I'm currently driving the all-new 2025 Subaru Forester Sport. I've already driven and reviewed the base and the premium, so now this is the third, literally in order of the price tier of the Forester, but also the third one that I'm driving. And how does it drive? We're going to talk about that over the next 8 to 10 minutes. And if you guys like what you see, if you like the all-new Forester, please consider liking this video. That small act of kindness really goes a long way in helping me know you want to see more stuff like this. And with that said, let's get right into it. I'll also link this one in the description below. This dealership prices everything below MSRP, and they ship all over the country. And with that said, this is about the Forester. This is about the Sport. It's pretty sporty. There's a few changes you should know about these new ones. First of all, the first year of these are still made in Japan. That will change next year. They're going to be moved to Indiana. This has the Subaru Forester Wilderness transmission from the last generation. So it has 8 simulated gears, and this is the lowest trim level that has the paddle shifters, just like the old one. And how responsive are they? I mean, they're not super responsive. They do the job. Probably you're just going to leave those things alone and never use them unless you really need to use it for engine braking. But because this only has a 2.5 liter boxer engine, it's not the best thing for engine braking. Currently, I have traction control off and it's in sport sharp mode, but let's turn it to intelligent mode. I'll get my foot off the gas pedal and watch what the RPMs do. They drop about 1,000. We're gonna go back into sport sharp and they jump up about 1,000. So I'll leave it in sport sharp for now to make a little bit sportier, fun driving experience, but it's basically like a downshifts 1 gear on the CVT as if they're, physical planetary gears. Anyways, let's take this corner with a little bit of speed. Accelerating halfway through, a little bit of wheel spin. Honestly, this is the sportiest Forester that I've driven. I have driven one of the 4th gen XTs with the turbo, and that was pretty fun, but the suspension setup on this one feels a lot better than an old, used up, decade old one. And overall, it feels really good. It's very Forester. You have some of the best visibility of any vehicle that's not convertible. The windows are huge. The back half of the Sport is tinted, but I would probably recommend tinting the front windows to the legal limit in your area and probably tinting the half-weight panoramic sunroof just because it really does let a lot of light in. But when you're just sitting in here driving, it's easy to find a comfortable position. The materials are honestly pretty nice. I think they're gonna age pretty well, honestly. The stereo and infotainment system, this does have the Harman Kardon speakers, and I wish that was what's on the base model because they do sound pretty good, but I wouldn't want to pay a whole lot of money for them compared to, the basic speakers, because this vehicle is now insulated better. It does sound better than the outgoing one. There's more adhesives and welds and basically 10% more structural rigidity to this one than the outgoing model because it's a sport mode. It has a sport tune suspension on the sport trim level, which is supposed to feel let's go this way. Supposed to feel just a little bit better. And because of all the low-end torque, basically the engine is the same, but it was retuned to make a little bit more low-end torque and a little bit less high-end horsepower, because most of the time you're not going to just go full throttle and ride out, 6,000 RPM, or actually peak horsepower is 5,800 RPM, and the CVT does a pretty good job of holding it there. Most of your driving is between 1,500 to 4,000 RPM, so that's where the torque now resides, and that's where it feels pretty good in here. But even going over 50 miles an hour, if I would quit talking for a moment, it's pretty quiet in here. These Bridgestone tires, not exceptionally loud. They do have about 9/32 of tread depth, so maybe a tiny bit less than what the base and the premium have on their Yokohamas from what I've measured. But overall, it's really nice place to be. I have the heated seats turned on right now for testing, plus it is about 50 degrees out today. It's a pretty cold day for being middle of June. And honestly, it feels nice. The horn sounds loud, sounds high-pitched. It sounds like a Subaru horn. The leather wrap is comfortable. I do wish it was a heated wheel, but you're going to have to pay for a more expensive Subaru Forester if you want one of those in the United States. And when you get on the brakes at maybe half pedal right now, going just under 40, tiny bit of nosedive, and honestly, feels really good. It's quite windy out today, and this is a comfortable vehicle to be driving around in. We're going to get up to speed in just a moment, and then shortly later I will show you the 0 to 60. These aren't exceptionally fast at 180 horsepower, but it gets the job done. The payload is 900 pounds, so you can hold 900 pounds worth of backpacks, people, and stuff in your Subaru Forester. It has about 29 cubic feet of room behind the second row and about 74 if you lay the seats down flat. And the steering wheel, it telescopes and it adjusts up and down, and it's easy to find overall a nice driving position. This being the Sport, it does have a lot of features, but this one also has a few add-ons, making it about $38,600. The dealership, I think, has this one currently advertised at about $600 off of MSRP, but you have the compass, you have the HomeLink settings, the auto-dimming mirrors, the blind spot monitoring, the 4th gen eyesight system that has the wider view, which is better for bikes and pedestrians, and just more sophisticated. And overall, this feels like a really good vehicle. With the Subaru WRX version of the steering rack, it does feel sharper. It still does a turn in 35 feet, but it really feels pretty good. And if we slow down, take this corner, I mean, no one's gonna be throwing their Forester around a corner, but it honestly does feel pretty darn good, and it feels better than the outgoing generation. I was pretty surprised to experience that until I first drove a Subaru Forester Premium. That was the first one that I reviewed of this new generation, and even driving it off the lot, I could tell that this is something different. It's just enough that it's noticeable. If you're not as familiar driving Foresters, because I've driven a couple dozen, you might not notice it, I don't know, but I could definitely tell the first experience with it is it actually felt pretty darn good. Actually, you know what, let's go up maybe a little bit further down this country road. Even partial throttle, the CVT seems pretty responsive because this one is out of the Forester Wilderness. It has the CVT cooler, so better reliability for the transmission. It also has a mechanical thermal control valve, which is basically the thermostat, which Subaru had an electronic one on the last generation. That wasn't the best design. There's now a service bulletin to address that if yours has an issue. But this is a little bit more reliable. It's still built in Japan. It has steering responsive headlights, LED fog and headlights, and it's likely going to be a top safety pick. Handles corners really well, even at 40 miles an hour. I am honestly really happy with this. For $38,000, would I buy this or a stripped down model for closer to, I think they're about 35, maybe 36 after destination before any discounts below MSRP? You know, I think it's pretty nice. These StarTech seats are super comfortable. In fact, I'm getting a little bit too warm in here, so I'm going to turn off the heat and turn off the heated seats. And this screen is more responsive than the 20 to 22s, which you can update those older ones. But even let's do this. Let's pull over here, maybe do a U-turn. These do a full circle in 35 feet, which is pretty agile, especially because the vehicles are only 15.25 feet long. Yeah, and it did, on this wide lane, it did a full U-turn, you know, in about 17.5 feet, so in the length of that right there, or the width of it. And overall, it's a really nice ride. Let's get to the 0 to 60 before I forget. 0 to 60 in the all-new Forester Sport. Traction's off, I'll brake rev the CVT, and it is in Sport Sharp mode, so let's see what it can do. Keep in mind, density altitude's under 4,000 feet, so today this one's only down on power about 12 to 14%. CVT's holding like it should, and it did feel just a tiny bit punchier down low. But the true 0 to 60 on that one came in at 9.52. So all of the ones I've tested so far, they have been in the mid 9-second ballpark, which isn't surprising for 180 peak horsepower, or in our elements, probably closer to like 155 today maybe. So a 9.5 seconds 0 to 60 true time, or a little bit faster if you discredit rollout. You know, it's not what the textbooks and the magazines rate, but if you were at sea level, if you were on a cold, even colder day than today, it would be a little bit faster and it would probably do exactly what it's rated. But that's not real world results, and unless you drive an electric vehicle, you never get real world results because gas engines are temperamental. Depends on the air quality, it depends on a lot of factors. Obviously, this Forester at 180 peak horse in perfect conditions is not traction limited with its all-wheel drive system, but it does have almost 9 inches of ground clearance. It has, you know, over 20-degree approach and departure angles, basically making it a pretty darn good off-roader on the soft-roading realm. It's going to get you camping. It's going to get you to your travel destination if you have to go on some gravel roads or some service roads. It's not going to do heavy, you know, heavy-duty off-roading that only a Wrangler or Bronco or something that's purpose-built should do. But just normal driving, this is a fantastic vehicle. And Foresters make your life easy. They got 30 miles per gallon. They have a lot of storage. They're comfortable. They're super duper safe. And overall, I don't really have any complaints. And if you don't have any complaints, like this video. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Have you owned one? Are you going to own one? What do you think about this? And I hope to see you guys on the next one. I hope you take care. and check out the dealership if you're interested in a discount and having one shipped to you. Until then, see you guys.